What is going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great. Ronnie here from Speed Lab, back with another update video. This time we have Ricardo's Evo 10 on the lift. Was gonna take a video before dropping in the engine, but oh well, engine's in already. This is actually a super nice 10. I really like the wrap on it. He had a wide body kit. He basically took the panels off. I'm not sure what he's doing with the panels right now, but yeah, it's also on a full air suspension. As you guys can see, this thing sat for a while and then the actual bag's deflated, so kind of messed up the tires a little bit, but nothing too serious. But anyway, let's talk about the star of the show, guys. So Ricardo dropped off this car to me, and he was just gonna get S2s. This was a couple months ago, and when we were doing the springs, we noticed that the leak down on two of the cylinders was pretty bad, about 65–70% on two of the cylinders. And I'm not sure what mileage this car had, this engine had, but from what I remember, it was pretty low. So as always, stopped what I was doing. You know, it's always good to talk to the customer and, you know, let them know exactly what's going on before you know, go ahead and finish the job and then tell them, hey, look, I can't really put this car on the dyno because, you know, two cylinders are pretty much almost dead. So spoke to him. He wanted to do things right. Sent him a quote. He wanted to go with our SPL 1000. The SPL 1000, just like the Evo 89 SPL 900 long blocks, guys, there's two different cylinder head packages. The first one is pocket ported, so everything gets disassembled. Pocket port here by me, by hand, of course, and then gets a performance valve job. The pocket porting, what that really helps with is we match the cast portion of the cylinder head with the machine portion of the seat, the valve seat, and then we can go to the +1 mil valve and actually take advantage of that increased surface area. The stage 3 cylinder head, what we call it, is a CNC cylinder head that's done by our friends at Arlington Machine, with a little bit of our, you know, tricks kind of that we have up our sleeve in that cylinder head package. And if it's an 8.9, of course, it gets a the O-rings as well, stainless O-rings. That's done in-house by me as well. So this is a pocket ported cylinder head with S2s. SPL 1000, so LA sleeves. Now we've switched to the Dartons because LA takes forever to produce sleeves. That's kind of ironic because all they do is make sleeves, so the fact that they can't, you know, get the sleeves to us on time is kind of ironic, but we switched to Darton and we haven't had any issues getting those, so that's what we'll be using from now on. They are still step decked. I actually think the Darton, just looking at the material and the fact that it actually turns it into almost like a CSS style, turns it into a closed deck, full closed deck, rather than the amphibious sleeves that we used to use, which work great. Not knocking on these sleeves, obviously they've been working great, but we've had to switch to Darton, and the MIDs are a great option as well. So obviously our custom spec diamond pistons. These ones actually got Cerakoted tops. I've talked a lot about the Cerakoting on the pistons, guys, and it's great to basically not have a focus point of heat on top of the piston. So anytime you can direct heat away from the piston, it's a great addition, and that's why the JE Pro series actually comes with the Cerakoted tops. However, to do it properly, you would kind of want to do the chambers and the actual exhaust ports as well, so you can get the full advantage of, you know, dissipating that heat and turning that heat into energy, so you're not just, you know, wasting it. So Cerakote is a great thing, but to do it properly, which nobody really does, and I've never done it, to be honest with you guys, to do it properly, you have to, you know, do all the components. You don't have to, but that's how you would get the full benefits of it. But it does have the Cerakote on top of these pistons. You know, the whole shebang, you know, H13 pins, which now we've upgraded to the Trent TP1 pins, which are even stronger than the H13 tool steel pins, and DLC coated now. It has the Carrillo Pro H-beam rods with the upgraded car bolts. Of course, we always do that because we like to zing these things up to 9,500, or, you know, if the turbo makes the power, we're gonna rev it up. And, you know, those bolts obviously are hanging out for dear life, so we want to make sure we have the best bolts possible. And we went ahead and powder coated the valve cover, of course drill and tap afterwards. you know, to get the baffles off and, you know, make sure there's no sand underneath, which there always is. So pressure wash it a million times, drill and tap, install the baffles back, so, you know, you're not pushing oil through the actual vents, which he has a nice, I believe this is an STM unit, I'm not sure. It actually might be a Fat House fab, or driven fab, not sure, but beautiful catch can unit. Necessary on a built motor, especially something with a turbo like this, a EFR. This is a 9274, guys, externally gated full race kit. So something like this, you definitely want a catch can, because, you know, when you're, you know, pushing that much boost, inevitably you're gonna have blow by. So it doesn't matter how tight we build the engines, you want to have a catch can so you're not, you know, coating everything with oil, your intercooler piping and all that stuff. And if you pull all the oil vapors out of the combustion charge, which, you know, inevitably, if it's in your intercooler piping and it's coating your piping, it's going to get into the chamber. You're going to lower the octane. It's going to knock. It's going to pull timing, and you're basically giving up performance that you can easily mitigate by having a nice catch can. So it is gated for about 20 psi. So this is going to be a dual map car, not flex, but dual map. So on pump gas, this thing will probably be, you know, 25, 26 pounds. And then on E, we'll see what she likes, but usually we keep it around 38, 40 pounds on a 4-bar, just to, you know, have a little bit of resolution left on the table. Aside from that, the drivetrain stock. Trying to see what else key stuff that is going on this car. Really the EFR kit, and of course we're doing a BPR fuel system, so dual 450s, not 525s for this one, but really not needed. ID 2000s, of course, the radium FPR over here, and the gauge, which, you know, it's always good to have the gauge if you don't have a standalone, and actually have a sensor logging this so you can see the value in real time. And this is going to be a stock ECU calibration. So yes, we still calibrate cars on the stock ECU, although I like to have them on a Motec, the Evo 10s. I like to have them on a Motec whenever they're making anything over 600-700, or even the 8 and 9s, but we, you know, do Haltech on the 8s and 9s just because it's a little bit easier on the pocket, and, you know, we tune Haltech pretty much every day over here. The reason why we like to push customers to actually get the standalone ECU is because of the fail safes. So, you know, if it leans out, one cylinder, you know, one injector seizes, or you know, you drop fuel pressure, you drop oil pressure, you know, it can cut engine power and actually save you money. You know, if you pay $15,000 for parts and labor to get a long block installed, and, you know, you got the, you know, most Billy badass parts you can, you know, sleeves, the best rods, the best pistons. If it leans out or you lose oil pressure, you're gonna chuck a rod or you're gonna melt a piston. So, you know, fail safes are always, you know, a good thing to have, but you know, sometimes the client can't afford, you know, the extra couple $1,000s, and that's understandable. However, I always, you know, urge my customers to, you know, go ahead and do a standalone if they're doing a build that's going to make in excess of 600-700 horsepower, just because of that added safety factor. Because if it saves you your ass one time, you basically saved your money threefold. So it's always a good idea to go to a standalone. And of course, you're going to need to know how to calibrate it. But anyway, aside from that, right now, pretty much most of everything is hooked up. Obviously, we're going to have to put the intake and hook up the fuel lines and all that stuff, put the ECU and everything back in there. Right now, I'm finagling with the gate dumps. So the dumps on the full race kits, anybody that's installed them, you guys know it's a pain in the ass, but it's doable. I've done you know, a lot of them at this point, so it's not difficult for me. One thing I want to note, guys, is the heat shields. There are some on the market. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones work. Speed Factory one does not work with this kit. It's just too tight. It hits the gates, which is a recipe for disaster because the knock sensors go berserk. And of course, it's basically gonna rattle your teeth loose, especially if you got solid mounts. Now, he does not, but if you have solid mounts, it's even worse. What I have been doing lately is I've been using this, basically it's like almost like a moldable firewall is what I like to call it. I forgot what it's called. I don't know if I can find the actual, this thing right here. So this material is foldable. and it's very heat resistant. So I think it's about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. And you cut it with, you know, a pair of wire cutters, something that can actually go through this, because it is a tough material, and it does take a little bit of, you know, finessing to get it to the shape that you want. But that's essentially what we're gonna put in the back over here, so this thing doesn't end up catching on fire, because as soon as we put this thing on the dyno, this is gonna catch on fire, and then I gotta get the fire extinguisher and make a mess. So instead of doing that, we figured out the best ways to use this and not to waste $400, $500 on a heat show that may or may not work. I just threw that number out of my ass, so I'm not sure if that's how much it costs. I think it's like $200, $250, but you get what I'm saying. And most of the time it's gonna rattle and it's gonna annoy you, and the knock sensors are gonna go crazy. So now we just use the DEI stuff, and it seems to be great. So like I said, yes, it is a 9274, so these turbos spool like nobody's business. On all the 4B11 builds that we do, guys, because of the way we clearance the bottom end, we retain both MIVEC gears. We do go to the, on some builds, Ricardo's actually doesn't have it, but whenever the client wants to, you know, be sure the exhaust gear is not gonna have a failure, we go to the Torque Solution billet gear. But aside from that, we do not delete MIVEC, guys. I've only done it once for a client that actually wanted MIVEC deleted. I don't know why. I wasn't the tuner, I was just a builder. And he actually ended up making like 980, I think, at like 35 pounds, and he never finished the project. So it's still, that hasn't been back on the dyno, but that's, you know, 1150 wheel horsepower capable car. But every single 4B11 that I've done to this day, aside from that one, we've retained the MIVEC, and it increases low end spool like to a point that it's almost stupid to get rid of the MIVEC. On the exhaust side, if you get rid of it, it's not that big of a difference, but the intake side, you know, just being able to advance it and, you know, get that extra air in there at lower RPMs makes a big difference. I mean, we're talking 600, 700, 800 RPM of difference just with the intake cam, which again, it's stupid if you don't need to delete it. You know, if you have a super loose motor, super loose bearing clearances, super loose cam clearances, because the cam on the Evo 10 on the exhaust side does have a bearing, and if you don't clearance that properly, you're gonna lose oil pressure, and that gear is gonna be wobbly, and you're gonna have all kinds of issues. Another reason, guys, why we go through the Torque Solution billet gear is the exhaust gear is prone to cracking, especially when you have stiffer valve springs like we do on this car, the Conicals, which are about 105 pounds of seat pressure, which is pretty high, you know, up there. That exhaust gear, every time basically valves are slamming shut, that exhaust cam gear, MIVEC gear, gets shocked even more, you know, because you don't have that cushion that you do on a stock spring, and they're prone to cracking. So I've actually seen the MIVEC exhaust gear on the Evo 10 physically crack. I've seen it a couple times. Or it just won't hold pressure because, you know, you have oil pressure escaping somewhere else that by the time it gets to the top end, you don't have enough to keep that MIVEC gear full and fully retarded, or if it's on the intake, which usually doesn't happen, you know, fully advanced to the point that you want. So you get this, you know, crazy oscillation that you'll see on the dyno graph that just, you know, completely ruins the power band and, you know, makes the car drive like poop. So obviously that's why people see it and they get scared and they think they need to get rid of it. But the reality of it is, if the bottom end is built properly, you do not need to do that. So again, this retains MIVEC, so does Andre's car, so does every single 4B11 that I've built, and no issues whatsoever. I think that's it for now. If I'm gonna raise the car and I'll probably just give you guys an overview of what's on the bottom. We're also installing a Tomei titanium single exit exhaust on his setup. So it's gonna be a beautiful sounding car. It's gonna spool beautifully. This has our older generation 10-to-1 piston, so nice compression. It's gonna be pretty damn responsive compared to a stock motor. And he has S2, so he doesn't have S3. So this thing is gonna, you know, we're probably gonna have to pull a little bit of advance from the intake cam, because this thing's probably gonna wanna surge. That's how quick these EFRs spool up, especially the 9274. And with the S2s, I mean, this thing's gonna be a, you know, spool monster. So the Evo 10, guys, it makes such a wide power band, especially with a turbo kit like this that's designed this beautifully. It just works so well. You just can't beat it. Once you get it riding a 650, 700, 750 horse EFR turbo kit Evo 10, yeah, if you weren't a fan of the Evo 10, you'll fall in love with it. It's pretty amazing. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for today. Just wanted to give you guys a little update video. Ricardo's, you know, we've been pushing builds out left and right, and I'm trying my best, guys. I'm trying to get a video of every single thing that we're doing here. It's challenging at times. It's only me and Nigel. Nigel's not here every single day. That's just how his schedule is. So it's kind of hard for me to do this, but whenever I have a little bit of free time, I grab the GoPro and I try to, you know, make a video for you guys. Tomorrow, my girlfriend Alex is gonna be here, and we're gonna do an engine swap, and that's gonna be a completely different video, obviously, but I just recently purchased an Evo 10. We're doing that one has a built motor. There's a client that wanted a built motor, so I'm taking his motor, and the built motor is going into his, and he is on a 3576 spec turbo. I can't remember who built the turbo, but we're gonna do that swap and we're gonna document that whole thing. So because I don't edit these videos really, I'm just gonna post it up as is. So this is probably gonna go up in the next like hour or two whenever I go in the office and I have a little bit of spare time. Excuse me. And then tomorrow's might take a couple days because it might be a couple different segments. But just know for a fact we do have content coming for you guys, and we've been planning this. And shout out to my girl Alexandra. You know, she's been pushing me to actually, you know, put out videos for you guys. And that's what we're gonna do, and she's gonna be helping me starting tomorrow. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. So you guys are gonna get to, you know, see us take out a 4B11 and, you know, tell you guys exactly what you need to watch out for, what you need to do when you're doing an engine removal, and how simple it is to do a 4B11 engine swap, really, because it's pretty damn easy once the trans and everything is intact, you know, to drop it or, you know, put it in. But yeah, with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, obviously comment, because as you guys can see, I've been responding to everybody's comments. If you have any questions, any suggestions, please let me know. Subscribe, like I said, hit that bell notification, so, you know, every time I drop a video, you guys, you know, get the alert, and so we can interact that way. Other than that, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.